Okay, let's go.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to NVP Nordic Viking presents Superman. Well, James Gunn's Superman. Or Soy Man. Or Super Soy Man. I don't know. There was nothing super or manly about this movie. In fact, you're going to notice the date on this review is about a week after Superman was released. And that's because I went and saw James Gunn's Superman during the Amazon screening last week, and it was abysmal. Somehow I actually gave the movie a 6.5 when I walked out of the theater because I really enjoyed the cast. By the time I was home, that was a 5, and the theater's only a 5-minute drive away. Over the course of the following week, that score just kept dropping for me. The more you think about this movie, the worse it gets. So yesterday, 1 week since the release, I took Lady Valkyrie to go see the movie. We caught a matinee because honestly, I don't think James Gunn deserves any more money for this film. And she took notes, much to her credit, and summarized this movie in a sentence that I think is so profound that it describes the movie perfectly. This movie was like a little kid telling you about a Superman dream that they had. And the parts they couldn't remember, they were making up on the spot, using their imagination. That's James Gunn's Superman in a nutshell. It was a little kid telling you about a Superman dream that they had. There's nothing redeeming about this movie. There were 3 things that I liked. The cast was phenomenal, minus the engineer who didn't need to be there. And toning down Hooker a little bit, get that savvy screech out of there, would have helped. But those were the only 2 characters really with a problem. The cast was good, though. It was the characters and the writing that failed them. The next thing that I loved was watching the Fortress of Solitude rise from the ice. It is a scene that could have went down as one of the best scenes in movie history, remembered for decades, for generations, had it not been for Crypto and a broken, bruised, and battered Superman being drugged to it. That was a failure of epic proportions, which undermined what could have been cinema history. The third thing that I enjoyed was the Hall of Justice. It looked great. That's it. That is everything positive that can be said about James Gunn's Superman. The negatives are countless. I've tried to write them out, and this video would have been hours. I could have done an EFAP on this. In fact, what's funny is I actually went over to EFAP to see if they had covered it. And I think they missed a solid 30-40% of the problems in this movie. Could I write a better Superman? Probably not. But that being said, I could fix this movie by doing one thing. Taking Superman out of it and putting Supergirl into it. Problem solved. James Gunn, when handed Superman in 2017, turned it down because he couldn't crack it. Well, that didn't stop his ego, because when he was offered a job as the head of DC Studios, guess what? He cracked it. Or at least his ego thought so. Because, James, you didn't crack shit. You inserted a bad dog that you had that obviously didn't like you or respect you. Huh, just like Superman. No one liked or respected him either. Self-insert. But you created your version of Crypto. Fine, great, whatever. Put him in a Supergirl movie. All you had to do was take out Superman. Give him a cameo at the end. And you introduce Supergirl, you introduce your Justice Gang. And Justice Gang, James, come on, JG. Come on. They're in the Hall of Justice. No one can say Justice League. But you failed this movie. You failed the fans. You failed Superman. By letting your ego get in the way and not making a phone call? You could have called Mark Miller. You could have called a dozen writers that understand Superman. James, you're not that guy. You don't put and I'm stealing this from Gary, from Nerdrotic, because you're not the guy who puts an American flag in front of his house on the 4th of July. You're not that guy. You didn't put in truth, justice, and the American way because you don't believe in it. What about proper morals and traditional American values? You have no idea what they are. None. And that's what makes Superman popular to Americans and the rest of the world. It's not just a red, white, and blue flag flying, James. It's traditional, family, values, and high morals. Now, maybe this is something that your version of Superman couldn't learn from his parents because you made them a couple of window-licking morons. This was not the Kents from Kansas. They were from the Florida Panhandle at best. And I would argue that most likely they couldn't have their own children because they were inbred. Dude, how do you do this? And I almost feel bad. I really do. Because not that long ago, we would have blamed Warner Brothers for doing this to a director, making them put this in the movie. But James, you're James Gunn. So you were going to take the heat for this. No matter what they did. And honestly, I think you filmed this, Supergirl, and Peacemaker, or at least parts of them, all at the same time to get this stuff out the door, hoping that they won't just crater the movie and move on for another reboot, which I'm going to tell you, James, most likely it's going to happen because your Superman movie opened to $125 million domestically on the wrong weekend. You couldn't open this on the 4th of July, though, and I respect that because there's nothing American about it. There's no American way there. But it opened to $125 million domestic box office, and the international numbers are worse. This movie's done. You're going to have 70-80% drop-off easy, and I really think I'm being generous with that for the second week. And then you have Fantastic Four. This movie's not hitting the $563 million in budget that you have. Between budget and marketing, be generous, $550 million. You got some tax credits. It ain't hitting it, buddy. It's not doing it. And it's your fault. You announced Superman with a beautiful motion poster. A beautiful teaser poster that made the internet go nuts. For one day, everybody was kind of on your side there. They thought, I thought, you might have gotten it. But your Superman is much like your Adam Warlock in Guardians 3. You don't know who the character is, you don't understand him, you don't care about him. So let's make him a joke. Now, if all that isn't enough for you, the cinematography was complete trash. Superman's limbs actually stretched more than I've seen Pedro's do in the Fantastic Four trailers. And the sound. This is one of the largest problems in this movie, and it's almost inconceivable that this is a James Gunn film because the score is terrible. John Williams, forget it. Not going to happen. Pay the money, James. Pay him the money. It's worth it. But the soundtrack to be even worse than a score, that's unforgivable for him. But for a full breakdown on Superman, I'm going to do that in a separate video. This one's for James. So let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you liked James Gunn's Superman, good on you. I like bad movies. I like a lot of really bad movies. So take no shame in that. But if you really like it and you have a point, leave it down in the comments because I'd really like to read it. So until next time, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate it. You have a great day.